But you know what? It's a great opportunity because the nerds have the show today, and we could talk
That
about video
bro,
games.
I was so I shot a video today for my second channel that I'm not sure if it's good, but it was about finding old memory cards. Cause
Oh,
so I found two old PS2 memory cards in my parents' house, and I went to see what was on them. And like last time, like the old dates are on them and everything. They haven't been open in like 20 years. I got these ones too, but these are N64 memory cards. You can't look at what's in these unless you have the game, because there is no like hub on N64. But some
hmm,
games had memory card support, so I will never know what is on these memory cards, and it's bothering me. But
interesting.
just to show you the kind of nerdy shit we're getting into.
I think that's
But
really cool though because like those on those memory cards, those are memories. Like it's so
that's why it
neat to
was
think about that.
yeah, that's why it was cool to go through some of the old ones and be like, "Oh my god, this one hasn't been opened since 2003." Like to think about like
Wow.
my life in 2003 and like that I haven't played this game or this at least loaded this save since 2003. Yeah, it was fun
Wow.
to go through some of that old stuff.
Yeah, when my dad passed away, I really wanted to bust out the Animal Crossing save file that he had because he put like
I
thousands
found
of
mine.
hours into that. And I'm like, man, I could see like what he did, all of the animals that he talked to, and it was a little.
And
Unfortunately, it
when you
was
go
lost, but yeah,
like when you go back to an old Animal Crossing save, it checks the clock on the GameCube, so it knows how long you've been gone.
yeah,
So like, and the town people, the town folks will like mention like, "Oh my God, David, I haven't seen you in 20 years."
yeah,
There'll be weeds everywhere. I should jump back into my Animal Crossing. That could be a fun video. Jump back into
yeah.
my Animal Crossing save and see what's going on there.
Yeah, I still have my Nintendo DS Animal Crossing save, or not my DS, the 3DS. I forgot what the name of the
Oh, I
last
definitely
one
got the
was.
3DS one.
It
Yeah.
was from like 10 years ago, but yeah, it'd be
Is
interesting
that
to
10 years
see.
old? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Time flies
yeah,
by so quickly.
yeah,
Holy crap.
yeah. This whole year flew by really quickly, but it was like I think you can agree this was such a good year for games, and we had the same game of the year. For those who don't know, we actually both put up separate top games of 2023 videos, but David's was like so good, and mine I just winged it, and I'm like, oh my god, David is like this is poetry, holy shit! It made me
I
feel
winged
really
my
bad about mine.
I winged mine last year because I did it live. So,
Mm,
but by the way, anyone watching wants to see it, youtube.com/David Dole. You see the link right there below me. But the one last year was like an hour long because I did it on Twitch, and it was like I was looking at Notepad, and it was just like it was me just kind of like whatever, saying whatever for an hour. Yeah, this one I wanted to be like, you know what? I want people to actually watch this, so I'm gonna
yeah,
make it like I wrote like little scripts for each one. And I didn't like just directly read them. I kind of like I tried to riff as I was speaking,
hmm,
but I wanted to have like my thoughts out because I tried shooting it without writing anything down first, and like this is just not going well. Like I'm just like
mm,
I'm mumbling my words. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say. So I had to really sit because I haven't really written about or talked about games professionally for. I mean, I was never really a big professional, but I have a couple articles on IGN from like 10 years ago. So I went to like a couple events. I was trying to be a games journalist, and it didn't really work out very well. IGN never paid me, but the so I hadn't really thought about how do I like really talk about games in a way that I want to like both inform but also speak, from the heart on how I feel about this stuff. So it
hmm.
actually it was good to sit down and exercise a different part of my brain that I hadn't really utilized for a bit. So it was fun to make the video, and I was I it has I don't know, I haven't checked recently, but like last I checked like 2.2 like thousand. Like I'm surprised it has
Okay,
over like 2,000 views. I'm like, oh shit. Like,
no, that's good. It was
I'm
it
I'm
was
I'm
so fun to
super proud of
watch.
that because yeah, that account only has like 4,000 subs. So by the
Yeah,
way,
that's
sub right here,
amazing.
sub on
Yeah.
the account.
And I have a second channel as well. Mine, I absolutely did just riff, and there were some moments where I was just mumbling, where it's like, yeah, I didn't think I'd like it, but I did. It's good. This is number 7, shit like that. But yeah, your video made me want to try Advance Wars and Viewfinder. Like, it was so good. I loved it so much. But I
Well,
love
thank
that
you.
we both picked the same game. Because it's undeniably, the best game of the year. Gollum.
Yeah.
So for
Well,
those who don't know, it's Gollum. No.
well, for I mean, for me, for, for me, it's Zelda. I feel like even if I played Baldur's Gate, I it likely wouldn't be number one for me. But Baldur's Gate is a game it sounds really fun. It
Hmm.
sounds like a game that I would really that I would enjoy, but it also sounds like a game that really takes a lot of focus, and you kind of have to like just focus on that game if you want to excel at it. I'm not that. That's not how I play games. I jump around a
Yeah.
lot between different games. So I mean, again, I'm guessing that's how, based on what I know of CRPGs and Baldur's Gate, it sounds like one that really requires your attention to really get the most out of it.
You're
And
right.
I don't know if I really like. I have a kid now. Like I don't. There's rare times where I can really just sit down and like just play a game for hours at a time. So I'm not sure Baldur's Gate would really, be high on my list because of that. But it does.
Yeah.
That is the one where people in the comments were mentioning like that isn't on your list, and yeah, I mentioned in my or at the end of the video that I
Mhm.
didn't play it. But apart from that, I think I played most of last year's big games, and there was a lot that came out last year.
Yeah, there was. Man, there. When it comes to Baldur's Gate, you're absolutely right. It's not one of those that you can kind of just like jump into. Like you really do have to focus, and that was part of my problem. Like I feel like my attention span has gotten shorter as I've gotten older,
Mine
and
too.
I just like I kind of want to play something and like listen to a podcast. I don't want to be super involved, but like what I was playing, I really enjoyed. The battle system itself, it wasn't necessarily my favorite, but it was still fun. But there are a lot of options, endless ways to play, fuck around. It's funny at times. So I do like I understand the hype, but I have to give it a second chance, I think, because
Hmm.
I kind of just I started playing Lies of P and then that was it. I beat it like 4 times, which is the first time I've ever done that. It was so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the yeah. I think I'm more like you when it comes to games. I need sort of like more of a focused experience to really get the most out of something. If I'm given, and Baldur's Gate it seems like the kind of game where it's just endless options, endless ways you can play. To me, that's very overwhelming. In a
Yeah.
way that I'm not sure I would really enjoy. I think if I gave it a shot, gave it the time, I'm sure I could. But something like Liza P is too hard for me. I mean, I got to the third
Hmm.
boss and was like, if I had more patience, I would keep going here. Same with Armored
It
Core
is
6.
hard.
Great game, but I got to like I beat the insane. It's like the first or second. I don't know. There's some big boss that's really hard to beat near the beginning.
Mm.
It took me like hours. I beat him and was like, great. Now hopefully it's easier, and then it gets harder. So it's like I don't have the patience for this. This game is really cool. I love the aesthetic. I love the mechas. I love everything about it. But I just don't have the patience to bang my head against the wall to beat these levels. Like I don't know, give me an easy mode. Give me a story mode. Every game should have that.
Hmm.
Not all of us can play games the same way as someone who has no kids or has no no job. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's tough.
I don't understand why I like these games because I'm one of those baby gamers. I play everything on easy mode, but I love these games. I probably would play them on easier mode if they had an easy mode. But there's something about them that I enjoy so much. Part of it is I kind of play on easy in the sense that like I grind for hours and hours just to make sure I'm leveled enough and I feel like a god
Yeah.
going through. But yeah, like I'm playing Lords of the Fallen now, and there was a boss that I just was like, it was the first wall for me in the game, and it took me like probably 5 or 6 hours to beat him. And I was just like, why am I playing this? Like why I'm like I'm probably gonna
Well, if
stop and then I just keep going. I don't
yeah,
get it.
it depends how much you enjoy it. Like there are like one of the issues for me is that there are so many games that I have access to, like with Game Pass, with PlayStation
Yeah.
Plus. There are so many games in my backlog that I haven't played that it's like if I get stuck somewhere, why am I going to keep I'll just play a different game. Like
Right.
I don't need to keep playing the same level. It's just that's why I think all these games should have, a story mode. Just let me experience the game.
Hmm.
Difficulty for me and getting over the hump, yes, that is its own fun thing. I 100% agree. Like
Hmm.
there was definitely like when I beat that boss in Armored Core, it felt amazing. Of course it did. But at the
Hmm.
same time, now I'm not going to play the rest of the game because it's too hard. I'm better off playing the rest of the
Frustration.
game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these people worked on this game for like really hard for so long, and I won't even see what they made because it's too hard for me. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what's funny is that in Lies of P, like when it first was released on Game Pass, so many people were bitching on the subreddit and just overall about it being too hard. And then they nerfed some of the bosses, and then it did actually make it a lot more easier. But I feel really proud that I beat some of the hardest bosses pre-nerf, and I'm like, damn, I guess I'm getting good, and I didn't even struggle. You
You
know,
should get like an extra achievement or something for that. Like
right?
it's like an extra trophy for doing that.
It's like that took time to learn the mechanics and whatnot, and
Yeah.
just get the confidence to go into these areas with enemies where they're attacking you and shooting shit at you. Like it's masochistic almost, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I beat a couple bosses in Lies of P, and I was proud of myself for doing that. And then I got to
They're hard, yeah,
yeah, and then I got to one crazy one. I was like, "Fuck this! I don't have
yeah,
the patience anymore." The game's beautiful. I love it. I love the aesthetic. Again, I
yeah,
love everything. I wish I could love it more, but I just can't. I don't have the patience. And now the issue
yeah.
with as well is like if you put one of these things down, it's hard to go back to it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you have to you almost have to go from the beginning just to relearn the mechanics and relearn the rhythm of playing the game. And it's just like, oh God, I can't put this down and go back because now I've got to start from scratch, and I'm not doing that either. So
yep.
it's just,
You lose that
I
muscle
wish I
memory
had.
so fucking fast.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah,
Or even like
yeah.
games that have like a deep story, and then you jump on something else and you go back. You're like, what was I doing here? Like, where am I? It's just I don't know.
Yeah, I have to limit myself to basically one or two games at a time max, just because I do feel like it's so easy for me to check out, or even if I'm enjoying something, like I'll lose interest in that story if I kind of go on to something else. So I try to like focus if I'm enjoying something. Otherwise, I'm just gonna like, I feel like I'm gonna miss out. I don't know. I used
I
to kind of
used
just
to
play whatever, but
I used to do what you're doing now, but and for some reason I stopped. I think it's because I got Game Pass and that effed me up. There was just too much
yeah,
on there that I wanted to try
yeah.
out. But I used to do that, stick to like one or two games. The other thing now is that there's actually some multiplayer games I'm playing and enjoying, or at least one. The Finals. Have you heard of the Finals?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've never played it
It's
though.
former developers of Battlefield, and it's like it's team based. It's like 3v3v3, and the whole point is to it's kind of in this like Las Vegas kind of setting. You're like in a game show, but it's a first person shooter, and the idea is you want to get this big box of money and extract it. So you grab the box and you go into this area where you extract it. But because there's full destructibility, a lot of times the little area where you're extracting, you can blow up the floor underneath it. So like the other team can come in, blow the floor
Oh,
underneath this extraction area, and then they can steal it. Like you have to hold triangle and it slowly like steals it, but you can steal it. So then there's always this like game of like, trying to steal the box that's being extracted. And it's this really fun
huh.
push and pull where even if you lose, like there have been games that have been close, but and I've lost, but it's been super fun because there were these close moments. And there's been other games where I've snuck in at the last second, stolen the box just in time, and won the match, and it feels amazing. So there's always
Hmm.
it's and it's also a game like it's a game for sure that would be fun with people that you're talking with, but it's a rare FPS team based game where you can actually have fun playing by yourself. So that's what
Interesting.
I've been doing largely, and it's been a great time. So yeah,
Okay, I'll
that's
keep
been
that in
taking up my
mind.
time as well. And I don't normally get stuck into too many multiplayer games, but that's one that's definitely gotten my attention recently. Still alive. Thank you for the super chat. Says, do either of you guys see video games going completely digital, or do you think physical is here to stay for the foreseeable future? I think it's going to go completely digital eventually, just because it benefits the corporation. I mean, they make more money. They have to produce less. They make more money, obviously, off digital copies because there's no physical product to make. There's
I mean,
Hmm.
it's already completely digital for me when it comes to the Xbox because I bought my son the one that doesn't have the disc.
Mm.
yeah, they're already
Just
slowly they're
yeah.
already doing that. Yeah, there's a PS5 version that also doesn't have a disc, so they're already trying to like slowly get people into that. I like I I mainly download my games just because it's more convenient. I don't want a bunch of boxes around. But when it comes to like certain games, I will buy physical, like a lot of Switch games.
Hmm.
I will. Also, part of that is because I feel like the cartridges will last forever. Whereas disc drives, I've had like PS2s die on me, Xboxes die. The disc drive is always a thing to go. Whereas a cartridge will, I feel like, always work. But it is unfortunate just the fact of how things are going.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's definitely going to go completely digital, probably in the near future. Which there's some pros and cons, right? The pro is that that's obviously better for the environment, but for me personally, I'm like an old school collector, so I have kept most of the games from when I was a teenager, and I kind of like collecting them, and I feel more secure. Like when you have something that's physical, you really own it. Whereas like your library can be cut off at any time. Like all the digital games I bought on the Wii U are now dead unless I pull out that old ass system. I mean, with Steam, that's probably the best in terms of like keeping your game library, but still, I mean, something could happen. You could get locked out of your account. So, we're kind of getting into this age where we don't own a lot of the things that we buy. Ownership is kind of like going the way of the dodo, even in terms of like movies. Like, how many of you buy movies? We don't. We just kind of watch it on streaming and whatnot. So I really prefer physical, and I'm sad that it's going to go digital, but I will hang on as long as I can to physical. I try to buy everything physical, but I think I'm gonna have to adapt. And where I'm choosing to place my like cards is in Steam. Like if I'm gonna buy digital, I'm not gonna buy on console. I'm just gonna buy on Steam.
Yeah.
Cosmere Dragon with $20. Thank you, Cosmere Dragon. Did you finish Mario RPG? It has anti-capitalist undertones. You have the Star Road, a socialist system which grants wishes equally while defeating an evil blacksmith flooding Mario's world with weapons of war for profit. So I did not beat it. I kind of just got bored, and I wasn't planning to not beat it. I was going to finish it, but it just, for me, I felt like it was fun, but it was just too simple. And typically I would like it, but it just wasn't catching my attention, so I kind of ducked out. But I do see the charm, and I do appreciate like the nostalgia element, because if I played it when I was a kid, I know for sure I would love it. So there's that, like, a lot of people are happy to see it remade. But yeah, it wasn't for me, but it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just kind of one of those games that I wasn't really in the mood to play. But yeah, I'm glad that so many people got to relive it and play it for the first time. That's always cool, because some of these old games were really good, but they just need like graphical updates to make them playable. Because if you go back and play some of these old games, it's kind of tough, right? Like the fucking,
especially if you're new to it. Like if you have nostalgia for it, I could see still being able to enjoy. But if you just want to, I mean, depends who you are. But a lot of people definitely have a hard time getting into older games just because of how they look.
Especially those N64 PS1 era games.
Oh,
those are
probably the hardest era to get into.
Yeah, and they're great. The games are good.
The 3D ones, like specifically, like obviously N64. I think most of that library is 3D, but there are some like some older RPGs on PS1, or like even like fighting games that are still like push the 2D a little bit and still work on PS1. But yeah, the old 3D is just does not hold up very well.
Yeah, it's rough. And like most of my favorite games are on N64, but it's to go back and play them. Like I did play Banjo-Kazooie a little bit when I found it on like an emulator for it. And it was still pretty rough, even when you up the resolution.
So Ren, $5 super chat, thank you. Says, loved your video on the Tetris kid. He did something that no one had done ever for over 30 years, only to have some loser tell him to touch grass. Did you guys see this story?
No,
I did. The kid was the first ever human, because it's been done apparently by like computer before, but the first ever human to get so far in Tetris that there was nothing left. There was no more there was no more game to play.
Yeah, he hit the kill screen, the first human ever. So that, anyways, go watch the video for more explanation. But there's like a
13-year-old kid. 13-year-old kid.
Yeah, 13 years old, and there's a reason, like there's a reason why it hadn't been done for 30 years. Like there's a lot of like different new techniques that were discovered in order to get past certain parts of Tetris that they didn't know before. And then after the AI hit a kill screen, they all realized there was a way to actually get to the end of Tetris. So after that was kind of like a race to get there. And yeah, anyways, amazing story. This kid, the first person ever, and then this fucking shitty news anchor at Sky News, like says like, go outside, like just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like this person reading news off a teleprompter, trying to belittle someone's like insane accomplishment that no one has ever done before. Like it's just a typical like a lot of mainstream. I wouldn't say a lot is like this now, because I think that this story's actually gotten a big, and she's the only person I saw like belittle it like this. But there still is sort of this like sentiment about games where it's like, if it's a chess player breaking a record, it's like, oh, awesome. If it's someone who played a game and did it, and then it's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, that's for little kids.
Gamers face more prejudice than any other marginalized group.
That's right. We are the most marginalized.
Gamers will rise up one day. We will.
We will. We will take over. Archangel super chat $10. Thank you. Says love your take on Baldur's Gate 3. The fact that I didn't play it. I played the original 2 and love this due to the D&D aspect of it, i.e. rolling dice for decisions. The combat was my favorite part of the strategy involved in combat. Yeah, like a lot of people I heard were not a lot, but some people were turned off by the turn-based nature of it. I actually wouldn't. I enjoy turn-based games. I enjoy them a lot more now than I did when I was a kid. I would probably love that part of it. For me, the reason why I'm afraid to get into it is because it seems so deep and like story rich that I really have to like, just play for hours. I don't have the time right now, but one day.
Wolfheart 1136. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate that. Has David still not played Disco Elysium yet? Have any of you played it? Love the communist questline. So what David explained with Baldur's Gate 3 is my same reasoning for also ducking out of Disco Elysium after a couple of hours, because you could tell that it's going to be great. The narrative is incredible, but it's one of those where you really have to sit there and dedicate so much time and mental space to. And my preference for games is to just kind of play something not necessarily shallow, but something to where I could listen to something else. Like I'm okay with a story game if it's like in quick bursts, like Spider-Man 2. Like you kind of just play it, there's a cutscene, and then you move on. But these are really like story-rich games. Disco Elysium is super, super complex. Like you make really important decisions that you got to think about. But it does seem cool. It's just like you really have to be in the right space mentally to play it, and that's kind of been my problem as well with Disco Elysium. So
a lot of how I play games now is I listen to podcasts while playing, and so if a game interrupts my ability to do that, it's unfortunate because there are some games where I specifically like Dead Space. That's wrong. I actually did listen to the podcast because it was scary. So
you didn't? I did.
I put a podcast on so I'd get over the jump scare so it wouldn't hit me as much. But I can't think now, but there were definitely other games in the list. Alan Wake 2. I was just in on Alan Wake 2. I didn't want to so there are games like that where I'll just focus. But Disco Elysium, I made the mistake of getting high and then starting Disco Elysium, and you cannot do that and expect to get into the I was just like, this is way too much for me to do right now. And so I played like 20 minutes, was like, I can't play this right now, and just never got back to it. It also feels like, to me, a game that is best played on PC. And I'm not a PC gamer. I have a Mac, and it might run on a Mac now, but I have the PS5 version, and it feels weird playing that game with a controller. It's one that I hear is so good because of the way the story plays out. But I'm gonna have to put it in the back burner for now. I will get to it at some point. That's for me. Lawn Gnomes, $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Says Spider-Man 2. Actually, you deserve a
1 and 0 and 2.
That's the best I could do. Spider-Man 2 game has a budget of $300 million, and the latest MCU Spider-Man movie had a production budget of $200 million.
Seriously?
What games / movies would you fund sequels for instead with that $500 million budget? I would do original property. Part of the reason why the Spider-Man 2 game budget was so massive is because of the amount of money Sony has to pay to use Spider-Man. That's like a massive portion of that, and like I forget what the budget on Ratchet and Clank was, but it was like a fraction of that. I would not fund. So wait, you're asking would you fund sequels for? So if we're just doing sequels, I mean, I got to sit and think about that one. So I don't have any movies in mind. I'm not too much of a movie buff. I mean, games, I just want a SOCOM 2 remaster. I was massively into SOCOM 2 on PS2, like the first online game I was really into. That the way those maps were designed, the way the game, the shooting may not hold up now, but just bring those maps back, update the mechanics. A SOCOM 2 remaster is like all I really want in terms of a sequel. Anything else for me, I want to see original stuff. I don't know. Mike, anything for you?
Yeah, that's a hard question because I don't know. There's a lot. Maybe like a really good sequel to like Banjo-Kazooie or like a 3D Donkey Kong. Like I'm very like nostalgic for the Nintendo 64 era, so like maybe a revival of one of those really big games. But it's hard to say. You know, I'm pretty like, I don't know. My tastes have changed over the years, so I don't know if like a 3D platformer would hook me like it did in the past. It's hard to say though.
I want to see new Jack and Daxter games.
That
Bring
would be
that series
cool.
back. I was
Yeah.
really into Jack and Daxter back
Or
then.
Sly Cooper. That's another
Sly
great
Cooper was great
series.
too. Also
Yeah.
great. Yes. Yeah. They stopped doing those, but Insomniac kept doing Ratchet and Clank, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I
that last
thought.
Ratchet and Clank was a 10 out of 10. That was so
Oh,
good.
fantastic game! Amazing game.
Yeah.
Still one of the best games on PS5, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Paul M, $10 super chat. Thank you. Says part one. David just started stream, heard the memory card story, and then jumped forward in time to tell you that when you have a couple hours for it, look for a pawn shop type place, known specially. Was there more to that? Is there a part two?
It does say part
Here's
one.
the part two.
To say part what? Oh, for video games, the kind of place that has old consoles set up and people inside always playing games. They'll be able to grant your nostalgia trip. This is for Mike. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Is to actually like just scouring like used game stores for memory cards. I would just do that. Just see what's on those memory cards. I got a used copy of Shin Megami Tensei 4 for 3DS a couple months ago, and I played a lot of that over the Christmas, whatever holiday I had. And there was an old save on there, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of cool to be like, hey, someone played through, like you could see how far he got. He spent like 80 hours. I'm like, holy shit. It's just, I don't know. There's something interesting about this person spent a lot of time with this game.
David Doe's
No,
gonna be
there is.
going.
You're right.
I wonder what his life is like.